I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Today we're reading from the Gospel of John, chapter 20, so let's focus on verses 24 and 25. But one of the 12, Thomas, called the twin, was not with them when Jesus came. So the other disciples kept telling him, "We've seen the Lord." But he said to them, "If I don't see the mark of the nails in his hands, put my finger in the mark of the nails, and put my hand into his side, then I will never believe." You know, like most people, I would hope that my faithfulness to the Lord would be compared to biblical faith giants, guys like the Apostle Paul or the prophet Daniel, Joshua, or even, Joseph, Prince of Egypt. But sadly, I feel more akin to guys like Thomas. More often than not, I have to see things in order to believe them. Maybe you can relate. Personally, I feel doubting Thomas has gotten a bad rap over the years. And it helps to know the other disciples didn't have much more faith than Thomas. They each had to see in order to believe. None of them took the women's testimony at face value when they came back and said there was an empty tomb. And earlier in chapter 20, verses 8 and 9, John testifies concerning his lack of faith and understanding, along with that of the others. You see, seeing was believing even for John. The other disciple who had reached the tomb first, then entered the tomb, saw and believed, for they still did not understand the scripture that he must rise from the dead. Once again, that's John chapter 20, verses 8 and 9. Jesus had already appeared to the 10 other disciples. Judas had hung himself, and Jesus had shown them his scars on the very first day of the week. It's just Thomas wasn't there, and Thomas was the last to see and believe. He didn't see Jesus until the 8th day. John chapter 20, verses 19 and 20 says this. It says, "In the evening of the first day, the disciples were gathered together with the doors locked because of their fear of the Jews. And then Jesus came and stood among them and said, 'Shalom,' or peace. And having said this, he showed them his hands and his side. So the disciples rejoiced when they saw the Lord." In my opinion, Thomas's statement was not one of blatant unbelief, no more than the unbelief that the others had already displayed. I just believe that Thomas's statement had more to do with his frustration, that he had been absent when Jesus first appeared to the others. And Thomas wanted the Lord to reveal himself precisely as he had done to the others. He didn't want to miss out. And you know what? Jesus granted Thomas's longing for personal interaction, and he'll do the same for you. God knows men will not believe in him simply because they experience an overwhelming volume of miraculous signs. And that is why not every single miracle that Jesus performed is recorded. The impact of miracles fades over time, and then doubt sets in. Was that really a miracle? Have you ever had that happen in your life where the Lord intervened in an amazing way? So then you find yourself in another hardship and you think to yourself, was that really the Lord, or was that just coincidence? Still, God knows that some men will not believe unless they experience a sign. John 20, verses 30 and 31, perhaps the most convincing sign that unbelievers need to see is the gospel preached, accompanied by the miracle of your transformed life. We are the showman's sample of how God can transform a person. If loving God was against the law, would there be enough evidence in your testimony for people to believe? I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Check us out at groundworksministries.com.